Hello, people. East Coast Seismic Events. East Coast Seismic Events. How many people on the East Coast know that the waters are rising there? What's causing them to rise? Why? So many things are taking place that even I are finding it kind of appalling. I want to thank all the people that live up in, well, Maine, New Hampshire. I've got some down in Florida that sent me a lot of good questions. They're worthy questions. This is from the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Agency. This is a current notification that was given to the National Geographic just about 2 weeks ago. See what it says? As I said, really? Yeah. Oh shit. Pardon my French. Or was that Greek? I don't know. Who knows? Ira, you can translate it. This is information that I have shared with some very close friends. It's not just that they live on the East Coast, because I've got some friends that live right next door to the Big Dragon, Ira and Lisa. And when I say friends, these are close people because they're sitting on top of it. Sinking Atlantic coastlines. I'm showing you the current news. This is not fake news, people. This is coming from Climate Central, who does a lot of this stuff for NOAA and the Department of Homeland Security. Just recently, I think 5-6 days ago, Nags Head, North Carolina. The people were walking on a beautiful beach one day, and the next morning they go, and over a 20-mile stretch of their beach is gone, leaving a 20-foot cliff in some places. Where did it go? Well, let me tell you what the scientists were told to say. That an unusual tide came in and an unusual gust of wind came up and blew it all away. This is no bull crap. This is what was being told through the Weather Channel just 5 days ago. If you don't believe me, ask the Tooth Fairy. She can verify it. I hope you catch my drift. I try to ignore some of these data stuff that's being put out by the USGS because they're not telling the truth. The meteorological weather channels across the country are not talking about it, and the media damn sure is not going to talk about it. These coastlines have been noted for the last 4 years are disappearing. Let me set that right over here. High waters in Virginia Beach, high waters in Norfolk, Virginia, high waters in off the coast of Maryland, high waters off the coast of South Carolina and Georgia, and hey, Florida, especially South Florida. All my friends down in South Florida, Capasa, you know what? You better Capasa your butt north and get over here in this safe zone, because don't think Georgia's free of it. Do not think that South Carolina's free of it, because, well, I'm going to show you the charts. All these little dots is where water erosion has taken place in the last 365 days, noted by NOAA. They've been being watched by geologists. Why? It sure isn't wind and strange tides. It could be strange tides, but it ain't the winds, and it ain't from a hurricane or whatever. This came out just the other day. Popular Science. Popular Science. They're talking about these cities on the East Coast within the next 30 to 50 years will be flooded, and many of them will disappear. Long Island, New York, parts of New Jersey, And it's just going to come in and in and in. Remember me talking about, this was in Miami this year. It dumped, let's see, right here. This was April 24th, matter of fact. It dumped a total of 8 inches within a 2-hour period. That is the deluge. It also mentioned Norfolk, Virginia down here. It rained so hard that the Lafayette River, which is close to Norfolk, Virginia, overflowed its banks and flooded cities. We have seen this. This next map, I will explain it to you. West Coast, you already know what's coming your way. This is for the people on the East Coast. Take a look at this. Here's the West Coast. There's Yellowstone right there, the little dot. But see this right here? This is the East Coast. Every bit of it. All this here sits on a shelf. If we go off the East Coast by about 50 miles, the oceans in the Atlantic drop from 150 to 300 feet down to 2 to 2.5 miles deep. It is a plateau like this. The plateau is breaking up. Why? Remember harmonic tremors? They are breaking up, and it's gradually moving inland. Now, when that plateau falls off, and trust me, NOAA's saying it is going to happen. They have put their Region 3, FEMA has put Region 3, which is up there in the Northeast, on standby. They've been training their personnel for a cataclysmic event. What are they waiting for on the East Coast? Probably the same thing they're waiting on the West Coast. It ain't looking pretty. They're saying that if that shelf in the Atlantic collapses, it will create a tidal wave, probably 1,000 feet. It will inundate the entire East Coast, going from Cuba, the Bahamas, many of the Virgin Island chains down there, all the way up to, well, Nova Scotia, our friends in Canada. It's not a pretty picture. It's just, you know, it's sobering, people. It's sobering to play with people's lives. Now, this is a current assessment from the Woods Hole, who work for the federal government. They get money to keep going. They're in Massachusetts. They do marine sciences. They are in conjunction with the United States Geological Survey. They're talking about areas where the sand, this is one of them, as you can see right here. But we've got one right here called File 2000-005 FA, and FA stands Field Assessment, and they've titled it Boomer. And they talk about these other places, giving some data, but Boomer is all blank, unavailable. I'm not surprised about that, for what is going on with Boomer, from what I'm told from my very credible and reliable sources, that this is an event concerning off the East Coast of North America. Notice I said North America, not just the United States, but North America. They're also training for tidal waves. These events were noted and monitored in 2015, 2012, 2016, and not to mention 2017. Again, what are they preparing for? But they're not telling nobody. Really? Oh shit. That's right, because it's about to hit the fan. To understand this, I'm trying to explain that when that shelf that shelf where the currents go collapses, it will be catastrophic. People living on the east side of the Appalachian Trails, all the way up into the Irondyke Mountains, all the way up to Nova Scotia, be prepared to move at a moment's notice. You're going to have to get in these safe zones that I showed you. Remember, the safe zones are very well marked. I've had some geologist friends of mine look at it, and they say I'm pretty accurate. And if you'll remember, all this in green right here is a safe zone. The mountains here on the East Coast is going to stop a lot of the inward bound. Again, I'm not trying to be a fearmonger. I'm being a realist here, people. I want you to see this firsthand. I want you to know this, because this government is not going to tell you. There's people in Europe are looking at this event taking place in North America, and they're shocked that the United States government is not saying nothing that they need to be saying. Why? Well, it goes to a policy that was signed in 1994 by William Jefferson Clinton called the Rex 84 Agenda. And I will be getting into the Rex 84 Agenda with video number 4 and video number 5 and video number 6. And this is where the rubber meets the road. This is where the great dragon is going to be standing. And I'm going to tell you about the Aberlin cycle. It is a prophecy. It is a scientific prophecy that is connected to Revelations 8, 9, and so on. It's nasty. It's humbling. And guess what? Me and my brothers and sisters, we're right here with you. We're sharing our knowledge so we can help people. And there is a little light in the end of the tunnel for many. And I'll tell you about that also as we go along. Thank you, and we'll go to video number 5 here.